We're here in Egypt in Rashid, also known as Rosetta. And it's here in this citadel, there was a fort, the time of Napoleon, they came across this stone, also known as the Rosetta Stone. This would be the key to unlocking Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Whenever you land in a foreign country, you are quickly reminded when you don't know the language. You know the symbols on billboards and street signs contain meaning, but you're unable to decipher it. Of course, you could learn the foreign language, but what do you do when the language is dead? A language dies when people stop using it and its meaning becomes lost. Eventually, there's no one left to resuscitate it. So how do you revive a deceased language, and what can that teach us about the meaning of human life? Consider that for over 1,000 years, Egyptian hieroglyphics was a dead language. We knew the language contained meaning, but no one had access to it. That began to change when Napoleon invaded Egypt in 1798 to strategically disrupt England's trade routes and establish French dominance in the region. While building a fort along the Nile in Rosetta at the strategic location where the river empties into the Mediterranean, Napoleon's troops discovered a black stone there with 3 languages inscribed.
This, they realized, was a huge find, as it said this is the same message in 3 different languages. And for the first time, they began to realize we might be able to figure out what Egyptian hieroglyphics means if we can work backwards with using the Greek, using the Demotic to translate.
When the French were ultimately defeated by the British in 1801, they took control of the Rosetta Stone and brought it back with them to England, where it has remained to this day. While the ancient Greek portions of the tablet could be translated, the Demotic and especially the hieroglyphic portion of the stone proved to be a challenge. One issue was that most scholars at that time were convinced Egyptian hieroglyphics were pictographic, meaning each symbol represented an idea or thing similar to emojis. They were wrong. Egyptian hieroglyphics are phonetic and made up a language that, if revived, contained a treasure of ancient information. The challenge was how to access it. There are 2 kinds of information: physical information and engineered information. Physical information is discovered by reducing things to their base component parts to understand their structure and the laws those parts follow, such as in the field of physics. Engineered information is discovered by understanding the structure's designed purpose. From a language to a machine, there is a significant difference between the parts a thing is made of and the purposeful whole a thing is made for. The Rosetta Stone contained both forms of information. Consider that the black stone could be reduced to its molecular particulars and the laws those parts follow. However, the language etched into the stone is engineered information and contains meaning ascribed by humans, not physics. Notice that engineered information, such as Egyptian hieroglyphics, cannot be assessed by studying the physical parts or the laws that make up the stone. This is because meaning is never inherent to a thing, but ascribed to what is created by persons. For this reason, deciphering a language is never accomplished by studying the medium the language was written on, nor is it revealed by studying the physical structure of the letters or words themselves.
No matter what you do, the language that's contained here, all the meaning that's contained here isn't contained in the rock itself. It's contained in these letters, in this language that is communicating meaning. But how do you get this dead language revived? How do you bring it back to life again? That was the challenge.
After the Rosetta Stone was moved to the British Museum, an English scholar by the name of Thomas Young made initial advancements on the translation of the Egyptian text. Young theorized that foreign names were written phonetically in hieroglyphics and that the oval cartouches on the Rosetta Stone spelled royal names. By this method, Young decoded the name Ptolemy V, who was the Greek ruler of Egypt at the time of the creation of the Rosetta Stone. This demonstrated that Egyptian hieroglyphics are a language. However, it was Young's rival, the French Egyptologist Jean-François Champollion, that made the key breakthrough in deciphering the Egyptian script. Champollion, with his knowledge of the modern Egyptian language, Coptic, was able to revive the ancient Egyptian language of Demotic. Using both Greek and Demotic, it became possible to decipher the Egyptian hieroglyphics. By 1822, Egyptian hieroglyphics was again a living language. The text of the Rosetta Stone was one of many copies placed throughout Egypt, which affirmed the deity of Ptolemy V and bolstered his royal cult by praising his political, military, and religious feats. Besides the royal propaganda of the text itself, the stone proved to be a linguistic key, making the message invaluable to Egyptology. For the first time in over a millennia, the ancient language adorning Egyptian artifacts could be read, and the treasure of information they contain made available again.
Wow, this is some incredible Egyptian hieroglyphics. This is the sort of thing that they would have been wondering, before it was translated, what does this mean? They knew it had meaning, but they didn't know how to translate it. It had been dead for over a millennia.
In essence, the Rosetta Stone was a difficult way to learn a language. Often, a student can learn a foreign language in one of two ways. They can be explicitly taught from a textbook the meaning of words, or they can immerse themselves within the culture the language is spoken. By using the other languages, the Rosetta Stone in essence allowed people to observe the ancient language in action. That's the problem with a dead language. It's static. Consider the difference between a secret code and a dead language. Why can a secret code, such as those used by Nazi Germany during World War II, be deciphered, but there are many dead languages once used by ancient societies that remain unsolved? The difference is found in the distinction between static meaning versus dynamic meaning. A language dies when it becomes static. It's no longer in action or use. The meaning remains, but it becomes inaccessible. Whereas a foreign language or a secret code is dynamic. It's being used. By observing a foreign language or even a secret code in operation allows it to eventually be solved because you can observe it in action. However, a dead language will remain dead if it cannot be explicitly stated or put into action again. Interestingly, what's true of a language is also true of a machine. As with a dead language, there are many dead machines discovered in archaeology. For example, archaeologists find tools and games whose purposes are lost. However, if a tool or machine can be observed in use, its purpose can be decoded. What's true of a language and machine is also true of people. A human can be viewed as a biological machine. Because we can observe the human machine in action, we can decode its purpose. For example, we can know that the heart is a pump by watching it in action. However, we would not conclude that a human is thus a blood-pumping machine. This is because machines, or an organism, are often made up of multiple purposes that coordinate together to achieve the ultimate purpose the thing is made for. Consider that a car has tires and an engine, but they serve a higher purpose to transport people. That being the case, what do we find when we observe people in action? First, we can observe that people were designed for community. People can be alone for a time, but loneliness is never a desired outcome of human existence. As well, people do not desire to be in just any kind of community, but they desire right or good relationship. In fact, it is one's moral character that people ultimately judge the success of another's life at the highest level. Consider that no one cares that Hitler was an author, held high political office, or was wealthy and famous. His moral character outshadows any of his accomplishments. People intuitively see that your moral character matters and is the defining feature of your life, for better or worse. The Bible confirms what we all know to be true: relationships matter. Jesus taught that the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. quoting from the Shema found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. That's a Hebraic way of saying, love God with the whole of your humanity. And then Jesus adds Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The challenge is that we live in a broken world full of evil, and that we are part of that brokenness. We fail to live up to our own standard of loving relationship, let alone God's. From a Christian perspective, humanity was a dead language from the time evil entered the world with Adam and Eve. Like a car with a flat tire, our purpose remained, but we could not fully live out that purpose we were made for. The Bible is like the Rosetta Stone, and Jesus is the key to decoding humanity. Through Jesus, we can observe what it truly means to be human by observing how Jesus loved God and people. He was perfectly human and fully divine. By faith, Jesus offers us His righteousness, thereby reconciling our relationship with God and beginning the Christian walk of learning to love as we are loved. Our moral character is now defined by His. Jesus invites us into a real community with God and each other that makes a dead life a living again.